Good evening, Grand Prairie. It is easy to fear what we don't know. It is easy to ignore that which we do not understand. It is easier to turn the other way when the harsh realities of life come and meet us. Death. It is inevitable for all of us in this room. It is all of our truth. Let me ask, how many times in a day, in a week, in a month, a year, have you thought of it? Have you thought of the last time that you will take your own breath? All of us also in this room will have lost loved ones. Do you feel like you had the time and the space that you needed to grieve? I feel that having the time and space can offer healing. This talk is not about faith. It is simply the talk about how uncomfortable we are when we discuss death and dying and how we approach it. Now, I've always had questions and have been interested in life and death my whole life. I had questions for this world that we live in. So I started to travel the world. 40 countries later, and guess what? I only gained more questions. And then I decided, why not become a primary care paramedic and serve our community? I then volunteered in natural disaster zones like Haiti in 2010. I'm part of a medical team. Haiti lost 300,000 lives. I then began to work in the funeral industry as a transfer specialist. For those of you not in the field, that is a title given to those of us that walk into homes, hospices, hospital rooms, and morgues, and bring in the recently deceased loved ones into care and transfer them to funeral homes or to the medical examiner's offices. Now, I've always been that type of person that will be at a party or at a celebration, Christmas, you name it, anywhere. And all of a sudden, I will start talking about death somehow. Naturally, a part of the conversation because it's the work that I've done. Even when I went to go get my hair done today, what did I talk about? Death and dying. It's a part of my daily conversation. Typically what I notice though is that one or two things happen. One, there's an awkward silence and all of a sudden the person has to use the washroom right away. Or two, they're interested, they're intrigued. They have more questions, almost as if they've been starved for this conversation. Then, when I was doing the transfer specialist job, something that I noticed that was just so interesting is after almost 800 that I was gifted to be present of removing their body, every single one was different. Every single one was unique. I would walk into a home and sometimes there would be 30, 40 people there, downstairs, upstairs, in the bedroom. Sometimes the people would be in the bedroom gripping the arms of their loved ones, not ready to let their loved one go. Other times they'd be sitting in the hospice room, calm, children playing. And then other times I'd walk in the room and all that were there is just the loved one deceased waiting for me to take them into care. It really left a mark on me. I then had my own losses, like all of us. I lost 2 loved ones, fairly close together. My family asked me to officiate and do graveside prayers. This is when I felt the calling. This is when I knew in my heart I wanted to become a death doula. And I also started the funeral director program. Now, I know a lot of us are like, death doula, what is that? That is why I'm here. So on the sign, we probably have all heard of birth doulas, people that help people with the delivery, preparing the mom and preparing the family for the new baby to come. Our role as death doulas is to be present for the person that is passing away and for the family to prep them for that moment. And it's a beautiful opportunity. Then in the summer of 2019, my sister passed away. The cancer went into her bones. I knew she didn't have long. I traveled out to Victoria to spend some time with her. And something seemed different. As we were walking on the beach, she seemed calmer and more present, as if a part of her was already preparing. 2 months later, I held her hand in my hand to my heart as she gasped for her last breath. It was beautiful. Then in November of 2022, I got a phone call from my sister. It was a Sunday morning. I couldn't understand a word she was saying between the crying and the gasping for air. All I heard was "gone" and "mom." I said back, "Everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. I'll be there as soon as I can." I hung up the phone. I cried. I packed. I prepared myself for the 8-hour drive. I phoned my brother and I said, "Go pick up bags of ice. Open mom's window so the cold air can come in. I will be there as soon as I can to prepare the body." Now, this is a caveat because my mom was a character. She did not want a funeral. And in her own words, "I don't want a big huggabaloo for my funeral. And if people want to visit me, they better damn well visit me when I'm alive." And then she would give off a boisterous laugh. That was my mom, a character. Now, the next image you're going to see is my mom. But it is a picture of my mom in her resting place. How I prepared her body in her room. I wanted to honor you where you're at with that. So if you need to look away, do. But I also wanted to honor how beautiful my mom looked that day as well. Meet my mom. As I approached the bedroom door, the cool air was coming from underneath the door and hitting my feet. I reached out for the door handle. The door handle was ice cold. I stood on the threshold of that bedroom door, knowing that it was that moment. As I opened the door, all I saw was ice, actually, because my brother put so much ice on her. I was impressed with how much ice he actually put on her. I was like, "You did what I told you to do." So then I started the work. I took all the ice off, and I started to bathe her body. My niece came over, because luckily she was in the funeral program as well. We bathed her. We changed her sheets. We started to do her makeup, her hair. My brother brought all those beautiful flowers. That crown she's wearing is actually a fairy crown. She loves fairies. My one sister bought her that bear. That other necklace is from my other sister. The picture on the bottom there is the sister that passed away. That flower that she's holding in her hand was from my wedding. That was just only 3 months before she died. This was healing. This was the biggest gift I could be granted. To be able to be present, to hold space for my family and friends. I held vigil over my mom's body for 4 days. I set an alarm on my clock every 3 to 4 hours to go off so I could change the ice. Do you know what your loved ones would like to do, possibly with their body if they died at home? Would they be open for the conversation? For I believe if we give space to talking about death, we'll have ideas, thoughts, and reflections. If we give space to this conversation, we open up space for grieving. When we're involved in washing our family's bodies, even if we just are in the room or around in some way, it is a freeing experience. When it is hidden, when we don't talk about it, we give it some power, and it becomes something we fear. I tend to look at things sometimes in a simple way. So we're in spring, and what are we seeing? The annoying birds chirping early in the morning, the buds coming out on the trees. It's birth. Once spring happens, summer's going to happen, and what's going to happen? Activity, full of life. We're going to then go into autumn, the changing colors and the different leaves. They're going to fall off the ground, and they're going to go into grounds just like us and nourish the ground. And then winter, cooling, animals hibernate. The simplest way I can put it is the cycle of life, birth and death. Now, my hope from this talk is a call to action, that you will move forward and have these conversations with your friends and families, that you will give more space and time to grief, death, and dying, that you'll go back to your communities and look for people that can help facilitate these conversations and help answer some of these questions. Because what if? I believe that if we gave time and space to death, it will help us to embrace it, and then we'll surrender to its truth. And by doing that, it allows us to be more present in our day-to-day. As the spiritual teacher Ram Dass said, we are all just walking each other home. Thank you.